Hello again, and today I want to briefly go over how to do some of the preliminary work if you're considering doing an Airbnb build on your own. Okay, this is something that I'm going through personally right now. I'm learning as I go, but obviously there's some steps that I've been taking along the way, and I just thought I would share those with you just in case any of you are in the same boat. I started by looking to see what Airbnbs and VRBOs were out in my area. And I actually called some hosts and asked them just generic questions, telling them that I had an interest in doing the same thing. And, I don't know why. I'm very thankful for this, but they were very receptive to take my call and talk to me and spend a little bit of time. I got a lot more positive feedback than what I would have expected, which probably is why I'm doing this. But then now I'm kind of in phase two. So let's say phase one was maybe a year ago when I was making those calls, or maybe 6 months ago. I don't know. It was probably several years ago. But at making those calls and just laying the groundwork for if my area is even suitable for this type of a venture. And after talking to probably, I don't know, three or four, maybe two or three different people, I felt like it was a good location and decent idea. Now, I didn't ask them specifics on pricing. I've talked to a couple other hosts here in the last couple months, and I've talked to them more about pricing and some of the things that I'm going through right now, which is what I want to share with you. But to get started here, comps, right? It's all about comps. So what I believe is appropriate is to find something really, really, really close to your area and really close to what you're trying to do. And just up on the screen over here, this property right here that I'm highlighting on the screen is about, I don't know, 10 doors down from me. Okay. So this is a very good property for me to reference. I haven't talked to this lady that is kind of offering this, but you can tell that they know what they're doing. Her description is very good. It's very detailed. It's just good. And this seems like a place that would rent well. It has a lot of amenities that are just things that I would look for if I was going myself. Pool tables, saunas, kayaks, just extra things that give you something to do while you're there. Anyways, so her property is typically listed around $450-ish a night. Anyhow, that's an important factor because this one's right next door. But all these are on the same chain or have some commonalities between mine and these. And this is what you have to do, right? So first of all, if there aren't Airbnbs or VRBOs in the area that you're considering building, you really have to question why you're doing it. But assuming you know the market and you can see the demand, I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I have isolated these as some, I wouldn't say they're all comparables, but houses that have some comparable features to what we're doing and are worth knowing the price, even though some of them are way out of whack on the upside to ours because they just offer more. But I wanted to have them in the mix just because there's some dynamics with mine that I can't find exactly everywhere else. This one is close, but again, this is 3,700 square feet, has a hot tub. Mine's 1,600 square feet, brand new, does not have a hot tub, will not have a pool table, will not have a ping pong table, will not have a sauna. So I can use this and maybe bump, hers up a little bit for some of those amenities and maybe down a little bit because of the age of the house. Just like what you do if you're an appraiser, right? If you're appraising a property, you're going to look at comps and you're going to try to knock things off and put things down based upon how it's going to change the value of the property. And it's the same thing here with nightly rentals, right? So all these have some aspects that I think is somewhat comparable to what I'm building, which is why I have them highlighted here in my saved. So you just go into Airbnb. I'm sure VRBO is similar, but you can save a bunch of houses in a folder I would just make a folder, pretend like you're going there on vacation, and just save all these things in your folder. And you know that each one of these, then, as you look back, is consolidated and you can begin to price your property. Airbnb, I've been told, helps with this, but in reality, I think it's still up to you as the owner to price your own property, which is not, if you screw up and you're too high, you're going to know because you're not going to get any rentals. You screw up and you're too low, you're somewhat shooting yourself in the foot, because I guarantee, and I've heard that there are people who want to come back every year. And if you go jacking it way up, they're going to be like, well, what the hell? Maybe that was the reason that they were attracted to you in the first place, is because your rents were below market. And if you go jacking it up, they might not be as enthused to rent from you the following year. So anyways, this is the same exact lake that I'm on, Jimerson. So this has some features. This is Lakefront though, right? So it's totally different. So I'm not going to get $3,400 for 5 nights because this is Lakefront. But the color scheme is somewhat similar. It's going to have some similar amenities. It's going to be a similarly okay location. But this one's Lakefront. I'm not. This is a property that's just modern and brand new. There's no way I'm going to get anything comparable to this for what I'm doing. But I know the location. It's just a new property, and I don't know. I'm intrigued by it, so I added that to my list. This one, obviously, has some features that would be similar. This one's going to be channel front. It's going to have some features that are going to be similar, but not very many. Again, both of those are not. All of these so far have been nicer than what I'm going to have for certain things, anyways. This one's probably the most comparable, and that's kind of what I'm striving mine off of, just because it's only a couple places down and it has some things, but not others. This cottage here, again, it's going to have some comparable things. This is a way nicer house. It's not going to be really a comp, but it was at least in the area and newer. Some of these, this one's not even down in our area, but it was at least something that I could find that was on the newer scale. Anyway, so you get the idea as to what I'm doing. This was just a buddy of mine, and I thought the house was awesome. So I was attracted to it, and I actually talked to him quite a bit about it. He was very, very helpful, as are most people when you get into this. They were in your shoes once. So I'm going to definitely help anybody who asks me any questions about this stuff, which is why I'm doing this video. So you get the idea that you're basically just doing homework, preliminary work, to price your property and try to be accurate. And, I personally would suggest that you read through all these and get a feel for how they read, what strikes you as positive, what strikes you as negative. And then it's kind of like knowing your competition, right? So read through these and see what everybody else has. If you're on a lake and everybody has a kayak, well, that might be a good clue that a kayak is in high demand and you should go out and spend a couple $100s and have a kayak on site, right? And those are simple little things that you can do. But if it takes you from not being rented to being rented just because you spent a couple $100s on a kayak, well, it's a no-brainer. So kayaks, in my example, are something that's important. I've heard fire pits from a lot of different people. There's just little odds and ends that you can add on or offer. A pontoon is something that would be of high demand if you're on a lake, maybe an ATV or UTV, depending on some of your areas. But anyhow, you get the idea. You want to find comps and you want to do your homework in advance, not only to know what you want to build, but you also want to do your homework to know what you want to buy to have on site at your property, right? If you need, if you need a pontoon, if you need a boat, if you need a fire pit, if you need an RV, campers, well, I don't know what it might be. It's going to be different for everyone in every location, but you get the idea. There are simple little things that you can do. Maybe it's bicycles that you can add on to your property that people are going to be like, oh, wow, that's awesome. But, in reality, it might only cost you a couple $100. So just by reading through these things, it's just it's time well spent. As I come up with more of these ideas, I'm definitely going to share them. For right now, I think that this is all I have. And I would just encourage you, do your homework before you start your project. And, my goal would always be to talk myself out of it, right? So make it your goal as you're going into this and asking people questions. Try to talk yourself out of it, right? Intentionally try to look for problems. Then when you get into it, you're not going to be as dumbfounded with what those problems are. You're going to expect them. You're going to be ready for them. And I think it will improve your overall experience, just having the right mindset and perspective on the issue. So anyways, hope this was helpful. Take it easy.